On this week's episode of Comics Controllers, we talk about the problems with big hype comic book events, like the upcoming death of Wolverine or gender bending of Thor. We also discuss the EVO 2014 fighting game tournament that just took place and all the great things that have come from it. All that and more on this, episode 25, Gender Bender Thor. Welcome back to another episode of Comics Controllers. As always, I'm Kyle, joined by my co-host, Steven.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good, Steven. So what is on the docket for the day?
I'm going to ambush you with a trivia question.
Uh-oh.
Actually,
I'm sweating already, profusely.
Yeah.
I can't handle this. I didn't study, Steven.
You should be fine, though, because it's about your favorite comic book character of all time.
Golden Oldie?
Oh, okay, no, it's about Wolverine.
Oh. Well, I guess you're my second favorite.
Right, sure. So my trivia question is something that a lot of people that I've talked to not too long ago didn't seem to know, so I want to know if you do. Can you tell me the issue that Wolverine first appeared in?
It was an Incredible Hulk comic, wasn't it?
It was an Incredible Hulk comic. Good job. And it was in 1974. Do you know the number?
40-something?
No, and see, that throws a lot of people off. It was actually in the Incredible Hulk issue number 180.
Good God. I forgot how long it had been going.
Well, that's why I specifically said 1974, because a lot of people just do like you did, and they'll say like issue 80 or issue 75, but it was actually issue 180. And don't feel bad. I also knew he first appeared in the Incredible Hulk, but I didn't realize it was that far. So. The reason I bring this up, though, is because Wolverine has been around since 1974, and if you go back and read some of the stuff of his first appearance, there are a lot of people who are really talking about this great, new, cool character and wanting to know more about him and everything. And I doubt we have any fans out there that don't know who Wolverine is. Even if you don't read the comics, you've seen the X-Men movies, you can figure out who Wolverine is, but one of the big staples for Wolverine, other than just having these massive claws, is that he is practically unkillable. He has a super healing factor, and part of his healing factor is there to deal with the fact that he has this adamantium metal running through his body that's slowly poisoning him.
Yeah.
But the healing factor covers that. Well, not too long ago, in Wolverine's solo series, this healing factor was stripped away. And this is going to lead us into a big event here in September called The Death of Wolverine. It's going to be written by Charles Soule, and it's going to be drawn by one of my favorite artists, Steve McNiven. And I want to take this moment to plug something of Steve McNiven's. It's a comic book series he did with Mark Millar called Old Man Logan. Have you read Old Man Logan?
You know, I haven't, and that's one of those things I really, really want to read because I've heard it's just amazing. And I'm the same. I love Steve McNiven.
Right, and I'm
torn because I don't really like Mark Millar, but I know that series is really good.
But I'm going to tell you why you should read it. It's probably the second best Wolverine story I've read.
What would the first be? Out of curiosity.
Origin. The original Origin they did. Huh?
I didn't think Origin was that good.
Really?
No, I thought it was very mediocre.
Oh, okay. Well, read this one. Do me that favor. You read this one, and we'll discuss it because I thought it was great. It's there's a lot of themes that they do with this one. It's slightly based off the movie Unforgiven with Clint Eastwood, and there's a lot of little references, and it's very much got that Western theme, and it's a great story. But anyway, so Steve McNiven's going to be doing the art, and I think that's even if the story sucks, that'll be cool. I'm actually not very familiar with Charles Soule. I've seen his name. I don't think I've read anything he's ever actually written.
I've never even heard of him. I'm not saying I haven't read anything by him. I just don't recognize that name. So that'll be interesting to see this guy who it might kind of just be a newer person writing stuff.
Right.
How he handles something this big.
And I will say that something we're going to talk about a little bit later is the original Sin story arcs going on right now for their big summer event, and I know he did some work on the original Sin stuff, so
right,
it's tie-in.
So here's my thing though about with the Wolverine stuff. So like, first off, they're telling us in advance, hey, we're about to kill this guy.
Yes, and they're making a big production out of it.
And it's a huge production because there's already talking about spin-off series to come from this death.
Correct. There are a couple different things that they are already throwing out there. A lot of it's being called the legacy for the death of Wolverine, and these particular things, like they have the Logan Legacy, which is going to be a comic book that'll follow Mystique, Sabretooth, Lady Deathstrike, X-23, and Daken, and how they're dealing with Wolverine's death or what they're doing in the wake of it. We're not sure if they're just causing trouble or if they're actually remembering stuff. I have no clue.
Well, part of that really irritates me because I saw the article today discussing that. You sent it to me, and this is my problem with the whole thing. Is that, one, what they're showing us, the image they're showing us for this series, it's going to be a spin-off of something that hasn't happened yet, but we're being told is going to happen. Like, one, at this point, Daken is technically, like, dead in a Horseman of the Apocalypse.
Yeah.
In the Uncanny X-Men.
He still does kind of look like that. He's still got the blue skin, and he has, like,
but
it almost looks like space-age claws.
He's also been killed again, and he's in the future. He's not in the present anymore. So it's like, okay, something must happen for him to come back to the present. Second, is the Lady Deathstrike in the image they show. That's the old Lady Deathstrike. The new Lady Deathstrike doesn't look like that. She's in somebody else's robotic body or whatever.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
It's like, are you telling me, is this just you guys don't even know what's going on in your own comics, and you're drawing it this way? Or are you showing me stuff that's going to happen but hasn't happened yet as part of this whole thing that you've already spoiled for me?
Yeah, the image could be very misleading. We're not 100% sure. But I have to agree with you that it makes me kind of question some stuff that's going on. One thing that you and I discussed is right now, Mystique and Sabretooth kind of have their own big plot lines going on in Madripoor.
Yeah, she's running Madripoor and basically making the mutant growth hormone. Yeah. So mutants who don't have powers anymore but want them can take it, and they can get powers for basically while they're drugged out.
Yeah.
She was making from Dazzler, which was jacked up, but...
Yes. I thought that was... Poor Dazzler. For anybody who hasn't been following, she's had a really rough few months the last month.
She's had a really rough life.
Yeah.
I mean, but if you're in a comic book, you pretty much have guaranteed that.
And we're not going to get into this, but I still don't actually know if anyone's told her that they figured out that she's the mother of Shatterstar. I don't know if anyone ever actually told her.
You're the mother. I think they made her forget, in fact.
Well, they did in the original when they first find out in the original comic, you figure out that's why she doesn't know, is somebody wiped her brain so she wouldn't remember. But at this point, I wonder if they're like, well, I guess somebody should go tell her. She has the right to know, right?
Well, yeah, anyways, that's a whole nother level of stupid. But so, here's the thing. This is my thought on this, and maybe you have a different one. Maybe some of you out there have different ones, and you can let us know. This is my thought. These kind of events that you tell me in advance, like, hey, we're going to do this big thing, they are pointless. And the reason they are pointless because in 6 months they're going to be undone and you're going to be back to the status quo. Wolverine's going to be back alive. You know what? This happened with Captain America. Remember he died? They told us too. Like, yeah, we're killing him. But he's going to be back. Like, why do I even care then?
Well, okay. I agree with you. However, I'm hoping they do at least what they did with Captain America. Captain America was dead for a little over a year, and it led to some really cool stuff.
Are they just going to replace every comic that has Wolverine in it with X-23? Because they've already started doing that. She's like in everything.
It does feel like that.
Like, there's the image that you showed me of her and Black Widow together. So I'm like, well, there's probably a tie-in with them at some point.
Well, which looks amazing.
Yeah.
But, yes, I agree. Look, I don't know, but my hope is that, like I said, going back to Captain America for a second, if you didn't read that stuff, there was some really amazing Captain America stuff that happened while Cap was dead. Part of it was people dealing with Captain America being dead, and then the other half of it was the void that he left, because Captain America was one of those guys that was constantly in the trenches, out dealing with stuff. He had his own villains, and I loved how they were like, okay, well, since Captain America's gone, all these villains are going to go to other people, or they're not going to be checked. No one's there to keep them in check. So there could be some interesting stuff with looking at the actual death of Wolverine and what his death is going to cause, like how I kind of mentioned earlier, there's certain X-Men that have been tied to this character from almost the beginning. There are X-Men that idolize him, like Jubilee, Kitty Pryde. People like Scott Summers, who don't idolize him, of course, but they have been together for a long time, and they recently, have almost been at each other's throats. It's going to be interesting to see how he reacts.
But it's fake. It's all fake. I mean, I'm not just saying your comics are fake and drama, but I mean, it's a fake thing they do just to sell issues. And the reason they do this is the same reason they killed Captain America, is because the media who doesn't follow comics snatches onto it and like, oh snap, something major is going to happen. This is really rare. Comic fans are just like, jerk off motion. Oh, again, whatever. Yeah. He'll be back in 6 months. It's like this other thing that just came out the other day, and we actually had somebody send us a question about this. They asked, what are your thoughts on the female Thor? Who cares? In 6 months, he's gonna have a dick again, so it's not a big deal.
Well, this is going to be a little bit different because, one, from what I'm reading, this isn't a replacement. Like, apparently the original Thor is still around, and this female Thor, the big mystery is who it is, and there's a bunch of stuff. First of all, I think I know who the female Thor is, or who they're hinting towards it is. It may be a red herring. But in Original Sin, it's revealed that Angela is actually Thor and Loki's sister. Now, you know who Angela is, right?
Yeah, she's the angel chick from the Spawn universe they brought over.
Yes, all right. So it's revealed that basically they're siblings. I'm not even going to go into that. I don't know how that works. I'm not
dumb. All right.
Right. But the big mystery is who it is and all that. And I like that they're kind of messing with a character who has iconically been male and been around forever. But
there's a female Thor. There has been a female Thor.
There has been?
Yes, it was an alternate universe. It was in the Universe X, Paradise X stuff.
Okay, all right. There is that one. There is also, in Earth 2, I think, it's Thor's daughter, if I remember correctly, because there's a female Thor in that one, too.
So this is my question is, like, is this person supposed to be getting the hammer, or is there a new hammer? Because that happened before where, like, Odin crafted new hammers.
Yeah, it specifically said Mjolnir.
I don't know. It's one of these things that when they make a big announcement about that, like, it was trending on Twitter. I mean, that's how big it was.
Well, it was
when
on
they make
The
big
View,
announcements.
which I know why. It's because ABC owns The View, but still, that's...
Yeah. And it's a chick hate show on guys, so...
Sure.
But anyways...
I've never watched it. I don't know, but yeah.
Anyways, it's one of these things, like the death of Wolverine is, and they're doing it to get, like, big press so they can get people to look on it and try to sell issues. And 6 months to a year, it's not going to matter. It's going to be back to the way it was. It's going to be a male Thor. In fact, then there'll be the big... Thor is back with a dick this time. You're really
obsessed with this dick thing, aren't you?
No longer will it be Thor, God of Thunder Thighs. It will once again be Thor, God of Thunder.
You can't see me, but I'm face palming right now.
It's so dumb. It is so dumb that they do this, and it really just it's one of these things that's made me stop reading comics in the past, where it's like you build up this storyline that you do this huge event for, you get very invested in this event. And then a year later, everything that happened is undone.
Okay, I have a few things. One, you keep saying 6 months to a year. My hope is, like with Captain America, this is at least a year. In fact, I know this isn't going to happen. I know it's not. I would love to see Wolverine, when they killed off Colossus, he was gone for almost 8 years. Maybe actually over 8 years.
It was a long time.
I would love to see them actually leave Wolverine dead for about 4 to 5 years. It's not going to happen, and I know that.
I'm very surprised Jean Grey's still dead. Now, they keep trying to bring her back.
Well, technically, it's just the Jean Grey from the past, which I'm okay with that. That at least has a little bit more explanation behind it. But here's the thing about Thor. I don't think they're replacing it. When Thor comes back and he takes back over the hammer, I think this female Thor, whoever this is still going to be around. Or maybe they have some plan to turn her into a bad guy. I don't know. This also didn't impress me because this is not the first woman to pick up Mjolnir. And I think you know who I'm talking about. Wonder Woman.
Oh.
Wonder Woman picked up Mjolnir. She got the power of Thor. And then she's like, no, I'm too good for this shit. And she put the hammer back down to fight Storm.
That was in Avengers or the JLA, or what, JLA versus Avengers, right?
No. That was actually in the Marvel vs. DC book.
Oh, okay.
They did. For those of you who may not know, there was actually a Marvel vs. DC comic book. I forget exactly what year it came out. It spawned the
90s.
entire.
It was
it was the 90s. It spawned the entire amalgamation series, and to my knowledge, it's one of like maybe two other times during that decade that Marvel and DC actually worked together with something that major, because there was the JLA versus Avengers.
Well,
Actually,
that was more recent. Yeah, that was more recent. That's when I was actually reading again. But like,
and there was
in that one, Superman got the hammer and Thor and Captain America's shield.
Yeah, and there was a Superman Spider-Man crossover at one point. But anyway, the point is, so it was a really cool, iconic moment during that series that unfortunately got rushed past because they were trying to do so much in that one book. But Wonder Woman actually is one of the ones who was worthy enough, and I believe Captain America has actually picked it up before too. But
yeah, there have been several people who've picked it up. Some people only picked it up at times of great distress when it was needed that somebody else could wield it. But then there are other people like Beta Ray Bill, the horse face alien god guy who had it, and then like
can we
Thunderstrike,
Thor?
Throg, Throg's had one. All sorts of people.
God. Anyway, and people wonder why I don't read Thor.
But the thing is, here's the thing: is that Thor's one of those comics, like when written by the right person, it's really good. But it's not often written by the right person, though. That's the problem.
But this new one's going to be Jason Aaron, who normally I'm all about reading Jason Aaron comics.
It might be good. This the thing is, I'm not saying that this death of Wolverine's going to be bad, and I'm not saying that the death of not the death of Thor, but this female Thor coming about is going to be a bad comic. But I'm just saying that the comic industry does with these types of things is bad. You basically just get it's a running joke. I mean, it's such a running joke. It's a trope that even the characters in the comics make, mention of, they're dead, they'll be back. Like, I think one of the greatest moments of that was in the X Factor series, the last volume of it with, like, Jamie Madrox and Siren and all of them, when Banshee died.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's so sad, and they go to Siren and they tell her, your father's dead. She just brushes it off. She's like, he'll be back. They all come back.
Well, yeah,
and part of
was in denial. She was in
denial, but her coping mechanism.
Yes.
She didn't really get upset about his death until like issues later when she realized maybe he's not coming back.
Yeah, just spoiler alert, he came back as one of the Four Horsemen, and my first thought was like, how many times have they brought this guy back? Like, seriously.
Yeah, he's died and come back a lot.
Deadly Genesis, they brought him back again as like Necrosha. They brought him back as zombie Banshee.
Well, him and Sunfire.
Yeah, Sunfire's come back a lot.
Died of Some people, it's just basically like they have like a get out of death free card. They just keep activating, and it's like somebody needs to take that damn thing away from them.
Yeah, Sunfire also is a good example of someone who not too long ago came back as a woman because it was a different person.
Yeah.
But the funniest thing I've seen in this whole Thor debacle is I keep up with Thor just enough that some of the jokes are really funny to me, and I love all the memes where it's Loki in his male and female form talking about, like, so he's doing what? Please, been there, done that.
Yeah.
Because Loki has also been a woman before.
Yeah.
Actually, in the Straczynski comics, that's when he came back as a woman.
But yeah, so my thought on the whole, back to the initial thing that started this discussion, the Wolverine death. Like I said, it could be good. I don't know anything by Soule. I can't think of anything that Charles Soule's written that I can remember.
Right.
The art will look good at least because it's McNiven. And the story could be good, but it's basically just jerk off. That's all it is. It's just a jerk off event that's not going to matter in a year when Wolverine pops back up or something happens like that.
Right. And this is definitely something I will not buy immediately when it comes out. I will wait and see how people like it, and then if a lot of people say, oh, it was good, I'll probably go pick it up.
The only way I could see him not coming back is if they're able to integrate like X-23 into all this stuff that he normally would do, or Daken 1, and they basically just have Doc Ock Wolverines.
And wouldn't that be awesome? No, like seriously, I would
totally
support just replacing him, being like, Logan is dead, X-23 is the new Wolverine. I would be behind that 100%.
I would be okay with it too. I don't mind that character. Daken, it's okay. He's not as interesting to me. I mean, he's literally just young Wolverine with 2 claws rather than 3.
Daken's best moment is when Wolverine drowned him.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. At least X-23 has other stuff going on, her other relationships that are outside of Wolverine. Like she has had a very little interaction with Wolverine in most of the comics I've read. It's almost like they purposefully are trying to distance the two.
Yeah, they did about 2 years where those two were very tightly connected, and then after that, I think they purposely were like, okay, now let's pull them apart. And it worked. I like I said, I like that character a lot. So,
all right, so Wolverine's death, who cares?
Yeah.
Thor has a vagina, no one cares.
I will say this: I'm more interested in female Thor than I am in Wolverine's death.
So what you're telling me is you're more interested in Thor's vagina than Wolverine's death?
Yes. If you must be crude about it.
Good to know.
I am more interested. Yes. Okay.
All right, Steven. So other than thinking about Thor's vagina, what did you do this weekend?
Okay. Well, so while Twitter was blowing up about Germany doing something in some ball or something,
Deutschland World Cup. That's what I'm talking about.
Right. Okay. So for 4 years, Germany's on top of the world as far as football is concerned.
Yep.
I was watching another great battle of the immortals, so to speak. Because this weekend was Evolution. It was the EVO Championship Fighting Tournament.
Yep, 2014.
2014. For those of you who don't know, every year there's a pretty awesome fighting game tournament that covers several different games, and all of them aren't even shown on the stream. I had to actually hunt down the Mortal Kombat Championship one.
Yeah, it's usually only the major fighting games or ones that have ridiculously large pots. Like example is like you're going to see Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. You're going to see Street Fighter 4. You're going to see
usually ended up in some way or another. You see one of those two at the end.
Then this year, the other ones they streamed on Twitch were Injustice, which was awesome to see. Yeah, because I hadn't played it, and it's cool to see that it actually had some people backing it.
You haven't played Injustice?
No, I have it.
You should,
but I have yet to really play it.
It's fun, especially if you like Mortal Kombat 9 because it's developed also by Neversoft, whatever they're called.
Yeah.
But it's the same team almost.
Awesome. So yeah, they had Injustice. They also had Smash Brothers, which I think this is now the second or third year Smash Brothers has been on the main stage.
Second, I think, yeah.
Yeah, and Nintendo was a backer of them this year too, so they had some promotion from Nintendo. So that's cool to see Smash Brothers up there.
They had a little clip from Reggie at the beginning. It was kind of nice.
Okay, I missed that.
Oh yeah, it was just him in his office of wishing everybody good luck and talking about how holiday season everybody will get to play the new Smash Brothers. It was just kind of a promo, but it was nice because it showed Nintendo's involvement.
Yeah, and then
Killer Instinct.
Killer Instinct was on the main stage, which
was a great end tournament.
That's cool. I've never been a big Killer Instinct fan, but I know it's got a big fan base, so it's cool to see a next-gen fighting game that's up there, because I think it's the only one right now.
It is. It is the only next-gen fighting game up there.
There's also Tekken Tag Tournament, so it's the only Tekken thing on the main stage.
I missed that, but I saw the announcement.
And then we'll talk about the announcements that came from this in a minute. Then also, the one that was weird that was up there that a lot of people probably never played was Blaze Blue Chrono Phantasm.
I had never played this game. I'd heard of the title, but I'd never played it. Blaze
Blue's a 2D anime fighter. It's a lot like Guilty Gear if you've ever played it. The reason it was on the main stage was it had the largest pot at $30,000 for the winner.
That's pretty crazy.
That is pretty crazy.
What would you do with $30,000 if you beat a bunch of other dudes to get it?
I would probably train so I could go make more money.
There you go.
Like the entire top 10 or top 8 for that, except for one guy, we're all Asian. They're all Japanese.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, there's a couple things too to remember about EVO. So EVO actually might not even be the biggest fighting tournament for some of these games. Like there are some games that there's other places that are bigger. Like CEO is probably bigger for the Capcom games.
Right.
EVO is the largest, though, I think, in terms of all these games and people coming together, because it's held in Las Vegas. And it's been going for years now.
Right.
And for most of the Asian players, they can't, when they play in these tournaments over in Japan at least, there's no gambling. So there's no winnings. There's no money they get. They're all sponsored. Like, you can tell who's sponsored because when they come up and they announce their name, they usually have 3 or 2 letters in front of it that signifies what company is sponsoring them.
Or
like RZR's Razor.
Yeah. Or that one guy who came up and he's literally his hat, shirt, jacket, shoes, pants, all had Mad Catz logos on them. I was like, oh, okay, well I know who he. It's like they say with politicians, you wish you could walk up and see who they were being sponsored by. These guys, you really can. Their logos are all over them.
Yeah, I mean they get paid to do that, and they get paid to be there for it. So, but over here, when the Asian players come and they can win money, so there are a lot of them come over here to do that. So you get the best from most parts of Asia to come play. Mm-hmm. But this year, the other great thing that comes out of EVO typically is because it's like the big fighting game thing, you get a lot of announcements.
Yeah, almost everybody either announces a new character or something at this event.
Yeah, so like Tekken 7 was announced,
mm-hmm.
which there's a little craziness about that. So the people behind Tekken, the guy who developed Tekken 7, he's also developing 2 other games that haven't been announced yet.
Right.
And Tekken 7 was leaked before he was supposed to announce it. So when it came time for him to announce it, he's like, well, this wasn't what I was going to announce.
Yes. Yeah, I was about to mention that.
He's like, I wasn't going to announce Tekken 7, but because it got leaked, now I am.
Yeah.
And so he showed a trailer for it.
And apparently it was IGN that leaked it. So
yeah, IGN screwed it up for everybody. But so then the question is well, what was he originally going to announce?
Well, most people are pretty sure that one of the projects is Tekken Cross Street Fighter. Like,
yes.
I've seen multiple people. For those of you who don't know, they came out with Street Fighter Cross Tekken 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
But that was a fighting game done with both sets of characters, but it was done with the engine and the style of Street Fighter. And so this is going to be the same game, probably switching out a few characters, but it's going to be done in the style of Tekken for Tekken players.
Yep. So that's what I think that's what he's going to announce.
That probably, yeah.
But instead he ended up announcing Tekken 7. Now the thing is that like there's a fighting game panel at San Diego Comic-Con, which is in like a week and a half now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think he was originally probably going to announce Tekken 7 there and Tekken vs. Street Fighter at EVO, but he probably swapped it around.
Well, we also don't know what this other project is. There's
That's
one project that, from what I didn't do extensive research, but I looked at a lot of the forums and stuff like that, and no one seems to know what the other project is.
Maybe it's not even a fighting game.
Hey, that's possible.
But so we got that. We got Tekken 7 officially announced. Mm-hmm. Killer Instinct announced new characters.
Yeah, they announced Maya.
Okay, so there's a new character for that for season 2.
And she's a returning character, but she's new to this version of Killer Instinct. Yeah. Mortal Kombat announced Raiden, which everybody saw that coming, but the trailer for it was cool. So
yeah, I mean it was like obvious it was going to be Raiden, but yeah, once again the trailer was cool. And then the day after EVO, Nintendo announced some more Smash Brothers characters.
You might as well just call that the block of Fire Emblem characters.
Super Smash Fire Emblem
and
with
Captain
Samus.
Falcon.
Oh yeah, with Captain Falcon. Well, that's what's so crazy.
I love Captain Falcon. Just real quick, I used to demolish people with him on the GameCube version. He was great. So
that's one of the things about Smash Brothers 2 is that people were saying that like if they don't put Captain Falcon in, it will change the entire scape of that tournament type. Because if you look, a lot of people played Falcon. He's one of the most played characters because of his dashes and his jumps and his ability to double jump, triple jump, stuff like that.
Right, he's so strong too. He's a strong character that doesn't move quite as slow as some of the other strong characters.
Exactly, and so the trailer wasn't meant to really announce him, but it showed him in it, so it's kind of like an unofficial announce for him. But it was announcing a brand new character to the franchise, which were these characters from Fire Emblem, from the last DS version. So if you played it, you'd probably recognize them.
Also, they announced that coming up very soon, they're actually going to release the full roster, so that's got a lot of people excited.
Yeah. So, and there's a lot of characters still missing off that roster from past Smash Brothers. So, we may not get to see some of them. We may not have Ness, and we may not have the Ice Climbers, and we may not have Falco from Star Fox. So, but
I would actually be okay.
We don't know yet.
I would be okay without the Ice Climbers because I don't never like them. But if you don't give me Falco, I'm gonna be pissed. I played the hell out of some Falco.
Well, another thing I wanted to talk about, and this is something that got kind of brought up in a little group that me and Steven are in, where we were discussing EVO. Like, there's a lot of discussion about EVO there now, because I think there's a lot of people in that group that either still are really heavy into the fighting game scene, or used to be, or just like I view it because it's very interesting to me. I used to love fighting games. I don't play them as much as I used to, but there's a discussion that was had about Smash Brothers, and the discussion basically stated that how in the tournament they limit the levels you can use, because Smash Brothers levels are trolly for the most part. A few of them aren't, but most of them are, and they turn off all items, and it's only 2v2. It's not 4v4 like the game's designed to be. It's a 2v2 match. And people were complaining that makes the game very boring because you don't have the randomness of the items and stuff like that. So, to me, though, I think we have to initially remember that Smash Bros. Is not designed as a fighting game to be held for tournaments.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, it's Nintendo's group fighting game for fun using their characters. But to make it competitive, you have to take out the things that are basically random number generators, which are what items drop, what crazy things the level does, stuff like that.
Well, and something anybody who's played Smash Brothers knows is there's some items, oh, okay, well, that's a neat item, or that's a slightly powerful item, and then something like the hammer or the thing that gives you your ultra move or whatever drops, and you're just like, oh, well, that's that. Yeah,
that's instant out for whoever gets hit with it.
Yeah.
And people have argued that Smash Brothers might not be meant for the main stage, because at least at EVO, because it's not as exciting to watch.
And I'm not really disagreeing with that.
I'm not either, because out of all the stuff I watched, Smash Brothers is the one that I literally cared the least about. Like, it was cool to see people at some of the crazy stuff they could do, but like I couldn't get hyped about it. Even the announcers seemed to struggle with getting excited about announcing it.
Well, I hate to say this also, but I watched the entire Smash Brothers thing, right? Mm-hmm. And part of it is there were some guys that were just so good with certain characters, and you could tell they found those moves that once they got you in the air, unless you were really good, you were in the air, and you were going to stay in the air until you died or until you did a jump away. And the problem is that gets really repetitive. It really does. There was a guy playing young Link, and I give the guy credit. He was really good, but he was boring to watch.
Mm-hmm. I can believe that.
Yeah, because young Link has an up sword move that if you get somebody in the air, and other characters have this obviously, but with his, it's really easy because he's a fast character to just keep him up there.
But the thing to remember too is that Nintendo is sponsoring part of this.
Yeah.
And it's not like no fans wanted it. Fans wanted this on the main stage for a long time, and it finally got there. It's not going to go away.
There's actually a very interesting...
Because it's a huge... The thing is, too, is like if you look at the people who wind up in these finals for these various games, Smash Brothers and Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 are the ones that have majority Americans. And Injustice.
Yeah.
Everyone else, all the other ones, it's just like all Japanese players with like one or two non-Japanese players. Like Street Fighter was like that. Street Fighter had all Japanese players or all Asian players. And then it had one European, and it had two Americans. And the European won it, which is the first time that one of them's won Street Fighter 4.
I'm really sad that the guy who looked like Tommy Wiseau didn't win.
Oh, God.
Was
that Ricky Ortiz?
Yes. To clarify, you can't tell me he doesn't look like Tommy Wiseau.
No, he does.
To clarify, though, on the Smash Brothers thing real quick, I watched the documentary on YouTube not too long ago, and I feel bad I can't remember the name of it, but it was talking about in New York and Chicago, there were these... When Smash Brothers wasn't in EVO and wasn't even really considered that much of a fighting game, there were these people who were running Smash Brothers tournaments, and everywhere it was following this one guy, and everywhere he would go to do a tournament, they would run their Smash Brothers tournaments differently. So he would have to adjust his strategies. He's like, well, some places I go and there are no items, and some places I go there are only these items, and some places I go it's 4 people, and some I go it's only 2. So it was kind of interesting, but there was definitely a demand for it to be recognized at this level. My problem is that if you look at EVO as an entertainment show for people who aren't as into fighting games as some of these people are, it may be kind of boring. Like, I'll be honest, I've played fighting games my entire life. I've loved them. But I've just over the past year and a half really actually gotten into watching these tournaments and learning more about stuff like frame rates and how to do fadeaway casts and stuff like that in Street Fighter, and just tons of stuff. And that's the thing. It's not for everybody, and not everybody, even if you like playing the game, is going to be entertained by it. So something like Smash Brothers, I can kind of see maybe something they should actually consider. Even and this is going to be hard for them if it is continuously sponsored by Nintendo. They're not going to want to turn that down.
Yeah, I mean, and truthfully, like, it wasn't even on the main channel until the last day when the finals happened. It was on the side channels.
Right.
So the main channel was almost consistently Street Fighter, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, or whatever finals thing was happening at the time.
Go watch Twitter whenever they're running something else for the day. Because, like I said, Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and Street Fighter are usually at the end of the day, or they're in, like, the prime spots. And you'll just see numerous tweets that are just like, wins Marvel. And it's just...
Well, the thing is that, like, just because it's not being broadcast doesn't mean it's going on. There are pools constantly being run.
Oh, yeah.
It's just they want to show a little bit of everything. And they especially want to show the finals for these big games like Blades Blue, which that, to me... So, in this EVO, there are 3 finals that I watched that were just epic. Like, some of them I was like... I didn't watch the Smash Brothers one. The Injustice one wasn't really anything special. The Tekken Tag wasn't either. The Blaze Blue one was amazing because the way these tournaments work in EVO is you get put in a pool, you work through your pool, and there's a winner's bracket and a loser's bracket, and then you make it out of the pool eventually, and that gets you into the quarterfinals, which then you work through that, semifinals, and then to the finals. If you can lose, you have to lose twice to be fully eliminated. So if you lose in one of these rounds, you get pushed to the loser's bracket, and you can work your way up. So for Blades Blue, this guy had lost in like the first round of the quarterfinals. He came back and he won, which means when he faced the guy in the final round, it was him in the loser's bracket and the other guys in the winner's bracket. He had to beat him for 2 sets, and he did. And he crushed him. It was one of those ones, like, it was epic. Like, he's crying when this happens because, like, he basically had, like, the comeback out of nowhere. No one expected. And it was great. It was great to watch. Like, you're so excited for this guy. Like, I don't know anything about Blades Blue other than what it is. I don't know any of the characters. I don't know any of the moves. I don't know any of the stuff. But, like, seeing this guy who's basically... It's like the Olympics. You see these people who devote their entire lives to this, and they finally win, and you're excited for them.
Yeah, there are already people who are like, well, EVO 2014's over. It's time to start practicing for EVO 2015.
Yeah, I saw one guy, like, the moment that, like, the Street Fighter finals, which is the last one typically, happened, his first comment was 365 days until EVO 2015 starts.
Yeah. The other thing about that is the guy who won, he won Injustice, right? Mm-hmm. And then he went into the Mortal Kombat bracket, and he lost. So when he came up, the guy's name is Sonic Fox, I believe. And when he came up, he had to beat the other guy. I forget exactly how they do. They did the Mortal Kombat one a little bit different, but he basically had to beat him 6 times total.
Yeah.
And he did. And he won. And it was so, like, everybody knew he had a chance, but you have to beat him 6 times.
That comeback. Yeah, those comebacks are what make it. Like, that's what happened with the Street Fighter one.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened with Street Fighter.
So the winner of Street Fighter was a French guy named Luffy. He's Asian, but he's born and raised in France. But he lost in the quarterfinals and got put into the losers bracket. And he came back and he won. Like, he beat everybody. And, like, the final round, like, he was good. Like, he destroyed the guy who was in the winner's bracket in the finals.
Not to break this down too much, but he was also using a character who was a very good character, but was one that I didn't actually think we were going to see in the finals. And then, that he just shut the other guy down. And this is also the point, just if you're keeping score at home, when Kyle would not stop yelling, "The hype is real." So
it is, man. Like, EVO is so hype. It's nothing but hype. And it gets you so excited, even if you're not into it. Like, a great example is, like, the World Cup to me. The World Cup, even if you're not a big soccer fan, you can kind of get into it, because there's a lot of excitement in it. There are these countries that are here playing for this, but it's just not the same type of thing to me. Like, once it's kind of done, it's done. Like, you don't get to see these guys have to face off constantly against each other.
Yeah.
And it's not just one-on-one thing. And there's all sorts of other things that go on. Like some ref makes a terrible call that just ruins the whole game for a team, and there's nothing you can do about it. This is these guys, the skill that they put into it, all by themselves, playing it out, and what happens, happens. And that's how it was in the Street Fighter one. You know, like the two Americans had to face off against each other, which was kind of like, oh, which one do I choose?
Yeah.
You know? Which
really sucked, because I actually did like both of them.
I did like both of them, yeah. I mean, one guy was running Zangief, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And he the way he ran him was so weird. Like, you could tell when he would come up against people, like, I don't even know how to face this, because I've never had to face this type of player with a Zangief.
I hate people who play good Zangiefs. I really do.
I think every fighting game has that one character that, like, he's so difficult to play that most people don't bother, but those people who figure it out, it's ridiculous. Like Ivy in Soul Calibur.
Soul Calibur, yeah.
You know, she's hard to play. Or Valdo. They're hard to play, but that one guy figures it out.
The other
thing,
just
hate them.
The other thing I was going to mention is that what people might not know, and we kind of brushed on this earlier, is there are a crap ton of just other fighting game tournaments. And the thing is that these people who win at EVO, they're still going to go to the other one. But like that Sonic Fox dude, right now, he is pretty much known as the guy who is the best at, like I said, NetherRealm, I think, does both Mortal Kombat and Injustice, and he's won both of them at EVO, so he is going to go to these other tournaments, and he also won Injustice at some other big maybe at CEO, I think. So he's pretty much going to be known until next year as the guy in that game. And these other guys like Chris G, who got like third or second, I think he actually got second in Marvel vs. Capcom. He's from New York. He goes to all these tournaments in New York, and they pretty much say that's like his game.
Well, that's the thing is in some places, these announcers are talking about it. In some areas of the country, there are tournaments that go on every week, multiple tournaments, and so some of these people, they played each other before. They have a lot of tournament experience, so they know what to do. Yeah. Like there's a lot that go on in Atlanta, maybe not as many as in like New York or California is where it's the craziest. I mean, they have their own types of tournaments and stuff like NoCal and SoCal. Yeah, Atlanta has Final Round, which is its big one.
Yeah.
Which was broadcast on Twitch this year.
There's some in Florida. I can't remember the name of them, but I had a friend actually go down there and try to compete in, I think it was Injustice. But in New York, they have one every Wednesday night, and it's called Wednesday Night Fights.
Which is also broadcast on Twitch.
Yeah, they stream it on Twitch. And for a while there, Chris G would go every Wednesday night, and so they started making this joke that they were going to rename Wednesday Night Fights to Chris G's rent money, because you win like $500 if you win.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's such a huge, cool community, and I'm really glad that I'm finally starting to get into it. And before anyone asks, I'm not planning on entering any of these tournaments anytime soon. But it's neat. It's like you said. I don't do sports, so for me, this is kind of like the closest thing.
Well, I wanna end our discussion on EVO about the Return of the King.
Okay.
All right. So there's a player named Justin Wong. Now, Justin Wong has been in the fighting game scene for a long time.
Yeah.
And he is kind of like the guy that everybody loves. Like if this was wrestling, he would be your Hulk Hogan back in the day that people are cheering for.
Sure.
And there are also the bad guys in the scene. And the thing is like, they're not fake. It's just, maybe they've done or said something at some point. Or people, like, even some of them in these documentaries, I think Filipino Champ, who's one of the, we'll call them heels or bad guys.
He's like the biggest heel right now, yeah.
People don't like him. And he's, in this interview they did with him in this documentary, he's like, I don't know why people don't like me. He's like, something happened at some point where they got in their minds that I'm a terrible person. He's like, whenever people meet me, they're always like, wow, you're so much nicer than I thought you'd be. He's like, yeah, because I'm not really that mean. I don't know where it came from.
But he is a dick in the games. This is my thing.
But you have to be. You have to be in that.
He specifically
even
told
Justin
this
Wong
guy.
Can be.
Yeah, sure. Anybody can be. Look, he specifically told this guy, hey, I don't like people who play this character. So as soon as he brought that character out, he specifically played a character to counteract him and keep him on the other side of the stage so he couldn't do anything. And the entire crowd is booing him. Like, I can't tell you exactly how many people were in that room, but it was a lot. And they were all in unison booing him.
Yeah. But so, like, the thing is for the last several years in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, the winners have been some heels, people that the community did not really like or want to get behind. Justin Wong has won them in the past, but it's been quite a while.
It's been a while, yeah.
Give you an idea who Justin Wong is too. Like, there's a video. If you've ever watched any fighting tournament video, you've seen this. It's the Ken versus Chun-Li in, I think it's Street Fighter Alpha 3.
I think you're right.
And basically, Ken parries every hit in Chun-Li's, ultra attack or alpha attack, whatever it's called in that game. I can't remember. Her major attack. He parries all of them when he has no health whatsoever. And he comes back and wins. That fight was Justin Wong and another player named Daigoro Umehara, who he was there this year, but he didn't make it to the finals.
Yeah.
So Justin Wong is known in the community. He won. And not only did he win, but he never lost a round. He never lost a set. So he won through the winner's bracket. And it was kind of like people were basically saying he saved Marvel from the bad guys is how it was. It was exciting for everybody cheering him on to see him come back. And after all these years, he's been here, but he hasn't played super well. He hasn't necessarily even made it to the finals several times. But to actually come back and win, it was a big deal. Yeah. And the community went insane. Really.
Oh, yeah.
He was trending on Twitter, which was crazy to see him trending.
Yeah, it was a big moment. It really was, and he was so excited that he fell onto the stage after he got
barrel
done
rolled.
from winning. Yeah, he pretty much did.
he even posted later on Twitter is like, "I was so excited I barrel rolled. I'm going to regret that later because now there's gifs of him like barrel rolling around and stuff."
Yes.
But it was cool to see, like, once again, same thing with the Blaze Blue guy, to see this person come up and just be amazing, and people love him for what he was doing, and, like, just rally behind him in this, like, because the moment that people saw he was going to win one of those matches, especially when against Filipino champ, because that was, like, just, he made a great call, Filipino champ made a bad call, and he won. The crowd went insane. Like, you could just hear people screaming. There had to be probably 4,000 to 5,000 people in that room at that point, just going nuts.
Sure. Well,
so,
yeah, definitely.
Because I know that they sell spectators and non-spectator badges, and they had said that for the last day they had sold over 5,000 spectator badges. So yeah, not counting the 100-something thousand people watching at home.
Yeah.
So it was pretty epic, and it's great. And like I said, you don't even have to necessarily be good at the fighting games. I'm sure not. I'm terrible.
I will tell you, the hype is sort of real because I had it going on one television as I was practicing my Relento moves on my Xbox.
Yeah, Sunday was a bad day for me because it was like, I want to watch EVO, so I got up and I watched the Blaze Blue stuff, and then right as it ended, I'm like, I've got 15 minutes to get to the bar to go watch the World Cup Finals, and I had to run to the bar, and I had to go watch that, and then as soon as I was done, I'm like, I got to get home so I can finish watching EVO. Ran back home. I tried to convince the bar, like, could you put Twitch up there? They're like, no one's going to want to watch that. I'm like, I don't care. I want to watch it.
Yeah,
exactly. I'm a paying customer, damn it. But so then I rush home and watch all the EVO stuff. So
yeah. And for those of you who may want to watch some of this, if our discussion has convinced you that the hype is real, then you can find most of the final matches on IGN and a few other places. It shouldn't be too hard.
I know you can find the Justin Wong fight, and you can also find the Street Fighter one, Luffy and
right.
Oh, who was it Luffy beat? I can't remember. It was a player from Japan.
Yeah, and his name totally escapes me right now.
Oh, Guerrero.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good fight to see somebody totally decimate, like just basically shut down someone else for 6 rounds.
Yeah,
that was a good thing to see.
Yeah, and it was interesting, and as I told Kyle and a couple other people, I've never seen such intense water drinking on a stage before, because between each round, usually each guy will pick up his bottled water or like take a moment to himself, just to mentally prepare. And I've just never seen so intently just stare at a screen.
If you never thought you would see somebody sweat playing a video game, you should watch that. Those guys get like... first off, there are lights on them, beaming down on them. And second, like, you're sitting on a stage with, like, 5,000 other people in the audience watching you. 100,000 people watching you. 2 guys commentating on your every move. Yeah. And, like, $30,000 on the line.
Picking everything you do apart. Like,
oh, yeah.
It is great to hear those commentators go, why did he do that? everybody knows you can double dash out of this, and it's just like...
well, especially the Street Fighter commentators. The James Chen is the one guy. I can't remember the other one, but he's been doing it forever. I can't think of his name. He works for Capcom. But
I know who you're talking about.
They do not hold back.
Yeah, no.
I mean...
And
neither do the Marvel vs. Capcom ones. Those two guys don't either. Like, they just he screwed up. I don't know what he's thinking. That was a terrible decision.
Right.
And they're literally sitting right next to these guys almost, so they hear it.
In the Mortal Kombat, when one guy kept switching his characters, trying to change up the strategy against the dude who won, and every time he would switch characters, like, is he going to do that? Is he actually good with that character? Just like almost picking his decisions apart as they're happening. It was pretty funny. Switching
characters isn't a common thing, too. I mean, some people will do it, but most of those people focus so hard with one character that they don't really have the skills to go to another, especially the Japanese players, because it's a different mentality over there and a different culture. So, like, they're known for a single player or a single character. So it's like, you won't, if this one guy's known for Sagat, he won't change for Sagat. If one guy's known for Rose, he won't change for Rose. Yeah. That's it.
And the difference there is that, unfortunately, the more known you are, if people know, hey, he's like the world's top Sagat player, or he's, his best character is Zangief, sometimes people will practice for you specifically, and so you have to either get that good or change up your moveset or switch characters. And like you said, it just doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah, the switching is very rare from the Japanese players. In fact, I don't think I ever saw any of them switch. I mean, not in those final rounds.
Yeah, not in the final rounds.
In the early rounds when they're like, I'm going to decimate this guy over here, they would maybe do it, but not often. Most of them, it's like they've got their character that they're known for. Yeah. That's where their sponsors are for and everything, so you stick with it.
I will say that in Marvel vs. Capcom, like you said, not in the final rounds per se, but in the earlier stuff, and even in the quarterfinals, you will see people almost always have two anchors to their team. Yeah. And they will play with that third character slot to try to combat whatever team build-up the other person has.
Yeah.
It's... If you don't know, this is a game about knowing what every character in a fighting game can do. Even if you don't play them, you need to know what they can do and what you should expect.
Yep. Exactly. I mean, it not only is it a muscle memory, but it's also an actual memory thing about what's going on here. Like, I know this person, this is what happens, this is what they can do, this is what their different styles do, So, But yeah, I think if any of what we said was interesting and you're still listening at this point, you should probably go to IGN and check out some of those final matches that they've done from EVO. Because you can just see people who the skill they have in the game is so ridiculous that you can't even fathom. Because you just imagine them playing somebody who doesn't know what they're doing.
Right.
Well, I think that's going to do it, Steven.
I think so.
All right. So if you have any questions or any comments you want to send us about Wolverine's death or Thor's vagina or EVO 2014 and fighting games, you can send them to us at comicsandcontrollers@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter at ZombieJesus here. And where can they follow you at, Steven?
As long as you're not tweeting me about Thor's vagina, it's Twitter at Steven Wilds.
I want everybody out here who's listening to actually tweet Steven about Thor's vagina. Just tell him a fact about it. Just tell him one single fact. And make sure I'm in the tweet, too, so I know it went to him.
Don't listen to Kyle.
All right. So until next time, I'm Kyle.
And I'm Steven.
You guys have a good one.